Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update, where I'm starting things off here on the Earthquake 3D program, and we've had a couple of pretty notable earthquakes here in the last day or so. So starting off here at Italy, where we've had this 4.8 in here that is at 300 kilometers deep. So if we just take a look at that here, it is roughly about 40 miles away from the Naples area here, where we have Mount Vesuvius. And so we definitely want to pay attention to that, as we did have another deep earthquake happen in the same region, I think no more than a month ago now. So if we still continue to see deeper earthquakes happening in this area, definitely could mean there's some sort of unrest happening within the magma chambers below, potentially getting disturbed in some way. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward, looking in the whole European region here. And then after that happened, there was two similarly sized mid-range 4s happening over here as well. And then going on pretty much at the more or less opposite side of the planet here, there was a super deep 5.4 over here in the Vanuatu region. So this was about 600 kilometers deep, and so we can definitely expect to see some shallower, larger activity going off from that here in the near future. And then so with that, moving on to the kind of west coast and the other side of the Pacific over here, we did have those two larger events. So we had the 2 6s, and we're still going to be waiting on to see what that does on the other side of the plate here going into the United States, where we haven't really had too much going on in the 2.5 and greater scale of earthquakes here, and we still have had a little bit of swarming going on here on the west coast and in Texas. And then taking a look at the tremor map to look at the northern side, again, this is still looking really quiet, even with the potential pressure coming in, as well as the volcanic activity going on over here. And then combine that with the volcanic activity going on in Central and South America, which is still ongoing. So if we take a look at these main volcanoes that are in like Mexico and again Central and South America, where these ash plumes have been going on, I'm not even sure for how long. I've been seeing this pretty much more or less the same thing on the list every single day with these ash plumes going on. So there's definitely some pretty significant ongoing activity in this whole region. And then that kind of leaves the United States West Coast area a little bit in the middle of that. So if the slow slip events and the tremors are slowing down when there's still a pretty sizable amount of pressure happening, then that could lead to some sort of buildup. And so I would expect to see something potentially within the 5 range, or maybe even up to a 6 going off the west coast here. So I'm just kind of testing out what I see going on here and seeing if that will actually strike. But it seems pretty likely with everything else that's been going on. We've had 5.0 activity going on through the entire Indo-Australian plate here. And we even see that activity again going into Europe. So I could see something similar sized hitting the west coast, especially since we haven't had anything greater than a 4 in this area. So, okay, the feed is bugging out a little bit. If we just take this up to roughly 4.0 activity, there has really been not much going on in the past week here. So, could expect to see something be hitting there. And so, kind of looping back to the volcanic activity and looking at the 20th, because this was going into the 21st, there's a pretty large list yet again, but the main thing I saw here was the top of the list. This volcano here on the Canary Islands seems to have something going on, and the thing is, this volcano doesn't look like it has actually had any major eruptions since the early 1900s, And within the past week or so, there has been some hundreds of events going on with the tremors or small earthquakes being recorded. So there was 300 about a week ago, and then going into like yesterday and the day before, there was 950 events. So be keeping an eye on that as well, just to see if that does anything more. And that pretty much wraps it up for the volcanoes. And then going into the space weather, where we've again had a pretty nice calm period, although we did hit KP4, pretty much just from the coronal holes facing us now. So this more central region here will definitely be seeing an enhanced solar wind from that going in the next couple days. So, but other than that, there's really been nothing. There was a little C-class flare pop on the kind of central facing region. So if we take it to around here, we had this solar flare right in the middle pop off with a little bit of something. But again, there's really not much to it. So we'll pretty much just get a little bit of a tickle from that here in the next couple days, it looks like. And again, the sunspots have been very minimal. In fact, where did that even go? So you can even just see it from here. There's really not much in terms of the sunspots. So that's also good to see. So other than that, I am figuring out exactly what I want to have available here when this website is released. So I'm thinking about splitting the earthquake and volcanism into two separate web pages so that I can have more things extended here for both things. And so on the Volcano Discovery website, there's actually a pretty nifty volcano map here for live eruptions that I can embed into it. So I can put that on a separate page and just kind of finish things off there. I did actually finally get this map fixed here. It's a bit more tedious of a fix than I thought, but that is all nice and good, and the images still have the orange border. And then so I still want to add as much as I can here with the historical data and the peer-reviewed papers section. So those are going to be the main two content releases that I try to work on to get this thing fully operational. And then from there, I can basically dive into some more specific things. I've got more than a couple smaller projects planned in the future for my own research and for some more added content to put on here. So that'll pretty much about wrap it up for today. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next.